We'll wait for a minute or two for all the attendees to join.
Welcome to the webinar.
In respect of the attendees who have joined on time, we'll start the session.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So good afternoon and thanks for joining. I'm Sandesh from MRSI. Welcome to today's masterclass, The New Age of Insight, First-Party Data Enrichment in a Privacy-First World. In today's session, we'll learn how to go beyond data collection, enrich it smartly, activate it ethically, why first-party data is the key to sharper segmentation, media planning, and AI-driven activation, how enrichment drives campaign lift, ROI, and true consumer understanding. Speakers for today's sessions are Manoj Dawane and Reshma Doshi. Manoj Dawane, founder and CEO of VTION, brings over 25 years of experience in bridging businesses and technology from supporting the early stages of India's telecom sector and digital ventures like Shadi.com to leading strategic roles at companies such as Ericsson. As an entrepreneur, he is currently building VTION into a globally leading name in digital analytics. He is also an active angel investor and mentor, offering startups the benefit of his extensive hands-on experience. Today, he will share his perspective on first-party data enrichment in a privacy-first world. Reshma Doshi, Head of Research and Analytics at VTION, has more than 21 years of experience in research, analytics, and project management, particularly in the APAC region. Her deep expertise in market research and data-driven insights enhances VTION's strategic approach, making her a key contributor in transforming consumer intelligence into actionable outcomes. Before I hand it over to Manoj and Reshma, a housekeeping tip, a request to all the attendees would be, we would like to make this session as interactive as possible. So please drop your questions in the question drop box. We'll try to keep them answering during the session. With this, I hand it over to Manoj and Reshma. Welcome, Manoj.
Thank you, Sandesh, and really happy to get this opportunity to speak with people who are on the call. I can see a good count over there of between 40 to 50 people. Sandesh tells me that there could be more today. And what better day, than to give a lecture on Teachers' Day, as they say. So for those of you who kind of know me from the past, it is a complete pleasure being here to try and share the knowledge that we have. And while Sandesh said that there is a lot of interactivity that we will ensure during the course of the presentation, which is going to be a little bit of fun, we have put in a bit of polls as well, 1 or 2 polls, which will be nice to do. Reshma is here, who will bring a lot of worldwide wisdom on the way in which we have learned this together as well as implemented it in the market, and that's what we'll try to do. So just taking it on from here, the first thing is, if there is anything that we expect out of this session, it will be to demystify what is this first party data enrichment, kind of thing that has become a buzzword, and why is it required? Why does it matter even more in a privacy first world? And I'm assuming there is a lot of market research kind of fraternity on this call. I will give you that nuance as well. Then we'll move on to some of the business benefits that we have seen and we are actually implementing with some customers. Finally, we will see those case studies that Reshma will walk us through. And the end story will be, if we have to get this done, what are the components? How should they be stacking up together? What are the do's and don'ts and pros and cons? Let's say is what we will see. Okay. If there is any question, put it in the window. One of us will definitely answer it. So here goes. What is first party data enrichment? And mind you, I'm focusing on enrichment and not just first party data. There are books written by Googles of the world who will define zero party, first party, second party, third party, let us say. These are all defined. So we will not get into that. I'm talking today of enrichment, and Reshma will speak about the use cases, why it matters, as we said, especially to build consumers' trust. So hitting it on from there, what is first party data enrichment? Is the process of taking directly collected consumer data or customer data with additional attributes. And I'll keep on giving examples of this whole thing as we move in the slides. Or it could be behaviors. A couple of attributes together can construe a behavior. Or it could also be insights that can be taken from a vector database directly for enrichment to create, the objective is to create a comprehensive and actionable end consumer profiles. Yeah. So the keywords over here are directly collected, which means somebody owns first party data, which is the first box on your left, which is collect first party data from owned channels. Yeah. It could be a brand owning them. It could be an agency owning them. Then comes the enrichment, of which we are going to see a lot today in this particular webinar. How to get to discovering patterns after enrichment is a data science kind of domain. And finally, activating is a verb over here, as you can see. Okay, enrich kar diya, aage kya karoge? That is largely an adtech world or a CDP world where this infused data gets into action for your daily routine activities like a campaign, or it could be consumer understanding because you are construing a product, or it could be an A/B test for heaven's sake, whereby you want to know which is the packaging that is going to work versus not going to work by administering a survey. Yeah, just to finish this off, the most important part that we have seen now in the world, and it is correct, I think, behavior pattern from the regulators as well as people like us who are in the industry, that everything should be privacy compliant. It cannot be that you are using data on which you do not have a right. It cannot be that you will be given some data by a body which does not know the provenance of that data. Yeah, so that is it's a Brahma Vakya, it's a founding principle. The second thing is it should be integrative. Between two data sets, if you have got A and B, there has to be some key value pair or a common column whereby you can integrate that data. It needs to be actionable so that it can be connected to ecosystems like a demand side platform or an ecosystem like a CDP, which is a consumer data platform, and therefore has to have that actionability. Finally, it needs to be transparent. It should be based ideally on exhibited behavior and not just based on recall. Yeah, these are the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Basically, what is it? First party data, and how does it actually get onto the actionability and transparency side of it. Moving on, the benefits can be just very easily perceived. If I say that you are a company with first party data and you have 5 attributes, and one of those attributes is the location of that particular data. Let's say Malad West is the location of that data. It could be consumer data, it could be retailer data. But in and around Malad West, if I give you something which enhances the understanding of Malad West, it could be a geographic pin code that we have taken from ESRI and saying that here is a population of average age 26. It is an enrichment. The example we have here is for activating precision targeted segments. Let's take health conscious users on a specific OTT. How do you know that he or she is watching some of these, early in the morning shows, which tell you about exercising, which tells you about your VO2 max rate, on what is the stepping that you should do on your treadmill. And therefore, the correlation is back into saying that here is a health conscious user, we can then have this persona used for activation. It could be for boosting some digital marketing KPIs. For example, they call it ROAS, return on advertising sales, on spend, return on advertising spend. If you find the right kind of audience, your advertisement spend or contact cost per person reduces automatically. It can be done very, very well if your first party data is much more enriched. Behavioral understanding is a very important part of it. We normally go demographic, which is saying that age, gender, probably NCCS, maybe location if you have the granularity of data. But if there are things like passion indicators, okay, this particular NCCS A1 person who is also a photography enthusiast, this particular digital footprint person uses e-commerce at least twice in a week, or this particular person likes Netflix in a certain genre, let's say. So that behavioral understanding becomes a very, very nice little enrichment that one can do. Finally, as I said at the beginning, privacy safe, and it should be ready to be, the data should be able to pulled out on a DCR. DCR is a data clean room. We are going to see a little bit of these acronyms today, and I will keep on explaining. In case there is anything, please put it in the window if I miss anything. CDP is a consumer data platform. So these are the top 4 benefits that we have seen by talking with many customers as well as practitioners of this whole thing on what data, first party data enrichment can lead to. What are the types of first party data that you collect? Natural and very easy to kind of comprehend. The first is transactional data. You get your bills from your retailer shop, you get bills from your e-commerce kind of forays or journeys, you get subscription status from OTTs, you get average spends from lots of reports that come out, and so on and so forth. So transactional data, with the massive amount of digital infrastructure that our government has put in for payments, is a very important portion of data that resides with the establishment. Then there is behavioral data, whereby you know that he or she is going to certain type of websites. You know that they are going to certain type of pages in that website. There is certain type of content that they normally engage with. It could be a young mother, let us say, who is engaging with content on prenatal videos on what are the exercises she should do to reduce weight after delivery. It could be app usage patterns, that there are people who use certain apps in certain parts of the day, and that trend, that two-sided hump, as they call, or two hump curve, is very evident over there. So behavioral data, if you can get, is a very, very powerful data to be collected. Attitudinal data comes in largely from surveys. The left box or on the bottom side largely would be survey responses. There could be very big companies that are conducting surveys every year or in couple of waves, let's say, which gives a little bit of brand sentiment data. It is normally collected on interviews. And finally, the youngest baby on the block, but probably having a lot of weight, is looking at digital engagement. Is what is the footprint of this consumer? And these kind of things like email, do they open? Advertisements, do they click? Social media, do they put likes? And so on and so forth, constitute this 4th bucket. If there is a data availability, and if you say that, okay, your wish is granted, I would ask for these 4 kinds of data sets, basically, for any first party data to become very, very relevant and very, very enriched. At this point in time, just to take a small little pause, let's say, we can reflect who is the first party data collector. It's the establishment of the company. That company can be a conventional company like an FMCG company, or a new company like a D2C company, or it could be an enterprise that is purely selling content. It could be an enterprise who is purely selling software, anything. They own these 4 buckets of first party data, and those buckets get enriched. I'll cover the process as I come back into the presentation. As of now, Reshma, would you want to conduct a quick poll before you launch into your presentation?
Yeah. So I think, guys, you can see a poll question on your screens. Maybe we give them half a minute to respond.
Yep.
Right. Want to publish it? Okay. 30 seconds more before we just publish the results and then move on to the next sections.
Surely.
All right. So we can see that 50% of the people have voted. There is another like 5 to 5 seconds. All right. Can we publish? Polish chat will just publish the responses. Okay. So which type of data you think is you find the hardest to capture? And most of the people have said attitudinal data, followed by behavioral data. And yes, transactional and digital interactions, as most of the people feel, is very easily available. Let's see it through our use cases on does this really hold true? All right. Moving on to the next one. So I'll speak about what are the business benefits, and I'll speak of two real life experiences, real world experiences. One around the traditional FMCG or brands which have been collecting data traditionally, and we will also speak about, of course, as Manoj said, the new kid on the block, the digital first companies. Moving on to the next slide. All right. So what are the kind of data sets that these companies have currently? The traditional companies have data which is direct interactions, like they have collected it via purchases, or they have loyalty programs. They also have data collected via customer feedbacks. And there are some companies who actually had these data sets or data points collected via pen and paper during those times. And eventually, over a period of time, they have realized the importance and have put that into a CDP. Whereas digital first companies have a wider range of real time data. So think of a gaming app, or think of a travel app that we are going to talk about. They have information about who is logging in, what kind of what is the travel history, what are they searching for. Or a gaming app would know how much time is a person spending on playing games and things like that. So if you look at, like, say, 5 wider types of data, purchase history and consumer preferences is available with both the traditional brands as well as digital first companies. Loyalty programs, again, because traditional brands have invested a lot in the loyalty program since the time of their inception, they have a larger set or chunk of that data, whereas digital first companies are still trying and they're still collecting that data. Website interactions and digital interactions is something which is a very big data set that digital first companies have, and hence you can see that it's a larger, a broader array of data that these companies have. So how can uh, what does first party data do? First party data also helps you collaborate within each other and experience synergies. So just think of an example that, a snack brand. Does a snack brand know that how much time is a person watching on OTT? And, while watching this OTT, how many times is he or she actually, before buying that snack, how many Q-commerce apps is he or she, checking for price or delivery or availability? So this information, imagine if the snack brand had it available at their tips, how could they monetize and use it for their betterment? And so let's talk about a traditional brand. We will speak about one skincare brand, which was in the space of a derma a kind of a product. And it was a mid-sized company, and they had almost close to 1.8 million data sets in their CDP. And it was largely from like loyalty and customer CRMs, retail CRMs and things like that. And that data was mostly about repeat purchases, or when people were coming back to them again. What it lacked is insights into what were they buying on customer for customer products, or where had they actually seen the ad, or what was the touch point that had triggered them to come and purchase this data, and they also wanted to understand about the new intender cohorts. Then they wanted to know what are the digital spends and what should be the influencer investment that we have. And of course, they wanted to strengthen their product positioning. So how they leveraged this data via a data clean room is that, of course, when they work with us, we help them identify uh, people who are researching for skincare products across e-com and q-com platforms, and also on, say, beauty platforms like a Nykaa. It also They also identified people who are buying and talking about searching about competition products. So they got an overview, not just about what was getting searched for, but uh, where was it getting searched for? Was it on beauty platforms? Was it on e-commerce platforms? Or was it on q-commerce? Of course, we also added a layer of, while this brand had their basic demographics, we were able to add a layer of NCCS, their age groups, and hence this kind of enhanced and strengthened the profiling further. And what did we generate out of this? We were able to therefore identify for this brand a few cohorts which were very impressive, like men 25 plus who are interested in derma kind of skincare products, or the new Gen Z intenders who are very heavily invested on quick commerce platforms. So these were some of the cohorts which were really of interest to the client, and then they were used for targeting or improving their ROIs. And of course, it also helped them that the targeting has happened on Meta or on Google. Then what next? Has it actually, have people actually gone and interacted with the brand? And then when they found out that instead of interacting with my brand, they are interacting with competition, then there were measures which were taken to kind of fine tune their strategy in terms of delivering their stories. So these were various enhancements that happened. And what was the result of all of these things? There was 26% increase in new user acquisition. It was across DTC and marketplaces, and they saw almost a 3 times more effectiveness sampling. They also built a persona based led GTM mapping while targeting. So this was a benefit that this traditional skincare brand got, and basically they moved from a guesswork based segmentation or to a behavioral backed intelligence. Similarly, for the travel company, they had almost close to 25,000 consumers, and they had in their CDP, of course, data was largely their travel signals, and they had website interactions or booking and inquiry forms, or based out of loyalty programs. But what they did not know about is what was going outside their ecosystem, outside the ecosystem of this particular app, and what was the journey. How has this person come on my app? Has it like directly opened the app, or has he come from a Google search? So these kind of information data points were missing, and therefore when the data was fused, they got a lot of they got that people were landing on their app after having interacted with a lot of other travel aggregators who were their competition. And of course, they also detected specific patterns that on our app they are coming only for, say, air travel, or they are coming only for booking their travel and not for their stay bookings. So these kind of patterns were identified, and of course a demographic layer was added to this as well. Demographic in terms of social classification also gave us an understanding of their premiumness, which strata of the socio economy have they come. And basis this also, we were able to classify them as digital nomads or luxury leisure seekers kind of cohorts. And again, this helped the brand in enhancing their targeting, and they saw almost a 31% conversion from the enriched audience, and almost 22% drop in their customer acquisitions. So, using the lookalikes that were created using these segments. So that these are the kind of benefits that brands get. And from partial visibility, they move to a full funnel understanding of their category and for their brand. So this is how brands are benefiting, and this is how companies will benefit by collaborating or having their data enriched using
Wonderful.
first party data.
Excellent.
So
I think, Reshma,
yeah,
we should hold on to that poll a little, and maybe we'll take it after I finish this off, because it leads
sure.
this into a very beautiful segue that
Yeah,
for having done what Reshma just said, how do you do it? There are many people who keep on come and say that you should do this, you should do this. But how do you do it is something that is very, very practical for a market researcher as well as a marketer to be knowing. And second is, how do you keep this whole privacy compliant orientation, given the world that we are entering into or already living in, is what I really want to cover. Little bit of science over here. You'll have to bear with me, but I'll try to explain it as much as possible. On the left hand, what you see, ladies and gentlemen, is the classical, they call CDP, the consumer data platform, where an establishment gets data either from their personal and demographic collection, however they do. It could come in from the campaigns that they run. It could work out from, kind of promotions that they have, or very simply collected data at the point of sale. This could be a possibility that they are filling up a warranty card, XYZ. All that data in a very kind of what you say, tabular form is ingested and integrated into what we call as a customer data platform. This customer data platform largely is used by very large establishments. Mostly we have seen used by companies that are slightly bigger in size, to assimilate everything and use it for their own communications, use it for push messaging, use it for sending out a SMS or a WhatsApp or a link and so on and so forth back to the same customers or consumers that they attack. So that is the loop, that you collect data, you enrich it, not enrich it, you deposit it, and then you keep on sending it. Now look what happens. If a company continues to take data of their product only, and that is their right to win, right? Only that data is available. They keep on getting data of the same vertical. In our technical parlance, it is called as a single or uni-focused data, let us say. And they keep on putting it in their CDPs. This data tends to be, I would say, biased to an extent or skewed to an extent, because it is about their own product. It is a single signal data. Example, a red lipstick manufacturer, let's say, or a brand marketer would not know what is the OTT that is seen by people who buy red lipstick. Yeah, these are two different domains completely. Yeah, and therefore the data doesn't have multiple nuances. Therefore, what happens is, further, even if it is digital data, like Reshma showed you on the right hand side, that websites and APKs and mobile sites that are people accessing on the digital side, but the fact is cookies are ebbing. IDFA actually just stopped completely. IDFA is the Apple identifier that was being used earlier and now replaced by ATT. So fact number one, lots of data still available in the CDP. Fact number two, it is single view data, product led data. And fact number three is that with cookies getting challenged, if not going away, and IDFAs getting smaller and smaller, the footprint, the veracity and the depth of the data collected starts becoming a little shaky. Then what happens? And why are we saying enrichment of data? Let's assume personal and demographic you have collected as a brand. Marketing and promotion data is coming to you. Devices data, if you have an app, if you are a D2C kind of customer company, it will come to you. And in person or physical, if you got a store or a retail footprint, will come to you. These are the points. 1, 2, these are the intersection points. And if I want to, kind of draw your attention to old things that we learned in school, the covalent bond formation, let's say, between two atoms, it is the electron in that outermost orbit you should see. These are the attributes. What we believe is that if a first party enrichment algorithm is run, then you will get data. Sticking to the same lipstick example, I can start getting data that a red lipstick buyer also is a Netflix horror genre fan, let's say, is the correlation causal? Is the correlation meaningful? Can it be utilized for brand oriented interventions? That is the next step to see. But the moment you start getting these 4 points, the intermediate points, let's say, coming from different domains, your data gets enriched. And therefore, it leads you to a very beautiful kind of formation that this enriched data needs to be activated. Data enriched and kept is like putting some money in a not even a fixed deposit. Just put cash in a locker, which is always going to deprecate as far as the inflation rate of the country goes. If you are enriching the data by external sources that are ingested, then you can effectively segment it. When you segment the data, you can target those segments in a much more effective way by taking it all the way into what we call as DSPs in the ad tech world, the demand side platforms. When your campaign actually goes live, or when your internal messaging system goes live, depending on the immediate feedback that you receive, which is a measurement loop that companies should have, you can actually go and modify and check whether the target is getting reached. You can modify the definition of the segment, or you can even modify enrichment, further enrichment that is possible. This is a continuous loop, the Z loop as we call it. Enrich, segment, target, optimize, enrich. And that is the whole activation workflow that takes place in the ad tech world. This is how physical data moves. Physical data. Let's say that here is enterprise data. I'll give you an example of a company which has got almost 35 million kind of user IDs that they have collected over the last couple of years. They will define that I am looking currently for an algo which will only give me female 25 plus from Bangalore or something like that, one cohort. And that particular data they put for what we call as LAL, lookalike audiences or lookalike modeling. Now to this owned data, they are going to add enriched data. So what I told you is a target of female 25 plus in Bangalore. Here they will add an enrichment saying that I need data from a data source which will tell me whether female 24 plus in Bangalore is also having bought a lipstick in the last 3 months. That algorithm can be created as a cohort algorithm in the enrichment dataset, and this whole thing actually travels into a common set called the data clean room. A data clean room takes care of the fact that the ownership of enrichment data lies with the enrichment data provider, and ownership of the owned data lies with the original data company and original enterprise. What comes out of here is a fantastically attuned lookalike model, and you get enriched data at the end of the funnel, which can be taken back to the CDP, or it can be activated in the DSP. DSP is media, CDP is an internal repository of data. Yeah, and that is how it works. Number one, data processing. Decent bit of processing is required. There is a data dictionary that has to be formed for this part and this part, which is enrichment data and enterprise data. The data dictionary has to match with each other, at least in 2 or 3 columns, to make sure that you can do a outer join. It's called an outer join. Then the whole bandwagon moves to the DCR. You must have heard about Snowflake or Databricks or AWS or Azure. All these people give the functionality of a DCR, a data clean room, where the ownership of the data is controlled and can be very, very well factored out. And finally, feature engineering, where you do matching of the sets, the covalent bond formation that I showed you, that you will have electron in the outermost orbit and match it, and therefore do the lookalike model. Step number 4. Finally, shoot out that enriched audience, which can get into millions, let us say, either on a cloud, which is on a CDP, or on a DSP, which is directly activating with a Meta or a Google or a Trade Desk. Yeah, that is the kind of sequence that we have seen continuously, and we have at least seen a lot of experiments earlier done by large companies, and now they have made it into a process. You have all heard of agentic AI by now. This whole formation, if you see, there are 4 parts to it or 5 parts to it. Each operation is done by an agent which can be constructed, and those agents talk to each other, it all comes and delivers you better lift, better efficiency, and better personalization. So this is what we have seen continuously happening, and more people, even conventional companies who have data in slightly different form, are now trying to convert their whole thing to capturing data, to harnessing initial collected data and putting it out with an enrichment into the complete bucket. So I would say that we are at almost 35 minutes down in the presentation. The key takeaways that we would rest over here, and then we'll open up for questions as well as observations from all of you, is first party data enrichment actually ends up as a bridge between declared and actual behavior in many instances. Yeah, you have to find the right bridge to construct, and that is normally done in a privacy compliant manner via a data clean room. Enrich data activation always has shown to be increasing accuracy, targeting accuracy that is, and acquisition costs go down. It is a double whammy actually, both are positive. And finally, we have seen brands slowly but surely getting into this whole act, getting their whole digital systems together and taking steps into the world that is coming very fast at us, which is digital and which is full of AI. I think I will probably rest it currently over here. And Rishma, if you're okay, we could do a question answer session right here with the audience as they have anything to say.
All right. So there is one question, Manoj. So before we take that question, maybe we can quickly do the poll, the second poll, and
Go on.
let's open it to the forum, and then we can, yeah. I'm sure you can see the poll on your screen right now, people. So maybe you can start responding. We have another 30 seconds before we close the poll. So which use case feels closer to you, to your brand's current challenge? The D2C, that is a travel company kind of an example, or the skin, which is more like an established brand case study? Okay, so new user acquisition and effective cohort targeting. I think that's what is one of the biggest pain points that marketers are seeing these days. So great,
Yep.
interesting. Manoj, there are a couple of questions, few questions, but there is one question which maybe we can answer here and rest. I have responded as we were speaking. So,
Okay.
the question is, where does enrichment data come from? I think it's an interesting question. And
Very
do
good.
you want to answer, or
I
you want me
can,
to?
yes, I can very quickly tell you that let's take where does enrichment data come from is obviously dependent on what kind of enrichment you're looking at. If you recollect, I had shown that there is behavioral data, attitudinal data, transaction data, and digital kind of footprint data. If you already have transactional data, you may want the other two or three. If you have two of them, then you may want the other two. Classically, enrichment data comes from people who are running maybe passive panels because it is multimodal data given in the same frame of reference or single source of truth, as they call, which is the best way to do a seed audience in ad tech. That is what they call. The conventional ways, imagine that you are Airtel, yeah, and you have a lot of data about your customers, ARPU, SMSs, voice calls, WhatsApps, whatever, data oriented kind of thing. And here is Saregama, which is a content company. Content company will have a lot of data about that these guys are Rajesh Khanna fans, these guys are Amitabh Bachchan fans, they listen to Lata Mangeshkar songs. Now, when they put both of these people put data in a data clean room, and Airtel, or let's say the telecom company, wants to target certain kind of retro music. Yeah, the Amitabh Bachchan and the Rajesh Khanna kind of years, let's say 70s to 80s or something like that, early 90s. And they want to target it to people who have an ARPU of greater than, let's say 300 rupees. The data clean room, because Saregama put their data and Airtel put their data, and somebody has done a very good lookalike model, can come in between two principals. Principal one is Airtel, principal two is Saregama. Therefore, Airtel will come to know that people who use more than 200 SMSs tend to be Rajesh Khanna fans. Yeah, and maybe that is the messaging that they use. Vice versa, if Saregama has to do a promotion, they can say that if they are targeting a retro release, let's say again, as they call whatever rehashed music or re-synthesized music, they will target it to people who are greater than 300 ARPU if Airtel and Saregama kind of come together in a DCR. So two sources of data. One is principal to principal, which is two people agreeing together and they put the data together for mutual enrichment. One is, and the other one is that is a data source who are professional market research companies who gather data and put it in a format that can be utilized by multiple companies. I think broadly, I would rest it at these two. The third source is obviously free data that is available. If you go to government websites, which is the Niti Aayog websites of MOSPI, or if you go to any of the what you say digital payment infrastructure websites, you can get some of this data on APIs. Very, very good, very powerful data, especially on a location transaction access, is available in these data sources. Reshma, you want to add anything?
No, I think Manoj, you have covered it all. I mean, these were the points that were in mind.
Cool.
All right. So rest of the questions we have kind of answered as we were going through the course of the
Excellent.
presentation.
Those questions were seen
right.
by all the audience, right? Everybody.
Yes, they were individual. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
All
that's
right.
good. If there is MRSI personnel here, Sandesh or Mitali or anyone, over to you for any next steps or any advice on if you want us to continue for some more time.
Yes, continue.
Okay. So we'll see if there was anything more to discuss. If there are no questions, I think we've probably done our job. And if there is anything more, shoot.
I think no questions coming in, Manoj. So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Then,
there is one question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. This is a direct question which says, what would be a cost for such an initiative?
Wonderful. I was almost expecting this, or would have great question. Here, let me tell you, and Reshma, allow me to respond to this.
Yes.
The normal way in which the kind of the side where the camel is sitting, at least in our country, is, let's take this diagram that you see in front on my screen. Is my screen still visible to everybody? If you take that the enterprise already has data set number 1, 2, 3, and 4, if you see where my cursor is moving, then they are looking for data set number 5. That data set can be available on a per parameter basis. So for example, if you're looking for a parameter called cart additions, or if you're looking for a parameter called number of times searched in bottom funnel, each parameter can be costed separately. Let's say that is the most granular you can do. You can break up the whole thing into parameters. It could also be a parameter like usage of messaging applications as one single flag. It could be a parameter like number of times used a credit card application. We are not saying about the volume or the value or the whatever bot, let's say, but number of times opened UPI application. These are indicators whereby every parameter is actually costed, and these can come from different people. So a transaction data can come from a very large aggregator of data like a payu. Locational data can come from a large aggregator, or not aggregator, owner of data like a telecom company. Behavioral data can come from companies like what we run, which is all to do about your full journey cycles from top funnel to bottom funnel. So every data set that you are looking for enrichment, the sources, like I said, the first three sources, each one has multiple parameters and every parameter can be costed for. Normally what ends up happening is based on the enrichment you're doing. If you want to enrich 20 million data sets, or if you want to enrich 100,000 data sets, there normally comes and the camel sits on the bulk purchase side saying that give it to us as a one-time data set ingestion, and we will probably repeat it 3 to 4 times in a year if the parameters are something that changes, let's say. These are some of the axes on which first party data enrichment commercials depend.
Great. I think, Manoj, you've covered it well. There is one more question which says, um, how much applicable for other geographies outside India, like a Middle East? Will same principles apply or different laws and data availability?
Excellent question. Excellent. Whoever asked this question, meaning hats off, because they're thinking completely. And especially if you look at multinational companies or global companies, they may have this use case. Or it could also be somebody who is manufacturing in India, selling in United Arab Emirates. The local laws are different. You know, that is the bottom line. But let me tell you a very powerful but there is, if you operate out of the mechanism that I kind of showed you, which is the DCR oriented mechanism, the data clean room mechanism. This is anadi ananta, matlab practiced all over the world. If your data is in a data clean room, it can be juxtaposed with any data set if the two parties have agreed with each other. So then largely data rules applicable for a particular country are towards localization. But if the data is available in that country already, then it can be merged in a data clean room. As long as you have a data clean room, you are rest assured you are not infringing on any privacy policies. Interesting questions, the last two.
Okay, the same person again is responding. It's saying thanks for the great thought starters. Still not clear on the budget, but we'll reach out. Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Right.
I meaning it will be not right to even quote that figure, but more than happy to advise separately or via MRSI, however we say.
Any more questions that you may have, people?
I can see one handout over there, Reshma. What is it?
Okay, so Manoj, we are also be going to give them a little bit of past researches that we've done,
Okay.
and it's a handout which
It's a
will,
sample report. Okay.
yeah, it's a sample report which will go out to the attendees.
Got it. Understood.
Also, there was one point, Manoj, since we have time, is that, you know, not necessarily this data needs to be anything which is related to a PII. Suppose if there is a
Sure.
brand who has information of buyers of their category of products, say,
Yeah.
you know, people who are buying health supplements, you know,
Yeah.
and if the similar cohort is available with some another data supplier or another data source in the data clean
Yeah.
room, then even at a cohort level there can be mapping. So that is something which
Excellent. Yeah. In fact, if that is a possibility to do cohort by cohort, if you notice the language that I've used over here is a cohort algorithm on the enrichment data side and a cohort algorithm on the enterprise ownership data side. If these cohorts are already anonymized and if these cohorts are already at a segment or an aggregated level, then the matching becomes even more privacy compliant very easily. There is no question of PII because it is already aggregated, and just that there has to be a good overlap in the seed audience, which means enrichment data and the enterprise data. Then the effectiveness of such a combination of segments becomes better. Otherwise, actually at an ingested row level data, how do you say, position, the enrichment is the best, as you all know, or you can mathematically imagine.
Yes, right. All right. I think over to the MRSI team. We are.
Yeah. Thanks, Manoj. Thanks, Reshma, for the wonderful session. It was a lot of info which was there. I'm sure at least I'll take some time kind of to go through this entire thing, and I think probably the audience also will be taking some time to go through it. It looks like there will be kind of a lot of queries, clarifications which might come in. I'll be sharing across the Vision's email ID along with the handout mail, which I'll be sending across to all the attendees. And thanks once again, and thanks to all the attendees for active participation. Take care and have a nice day.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. God bless you. Happy
Thanks.
Teachers Day. Bye.
Happy Teachers Day. Bye.